Hey, I'm Emma. Welcome to Revenge Pulse, where every story hits different. Hit subscribe and let's dive in. The comment came during dessert. Easter Sunday at Mom's house. The dining room table stretched with extensions to seat 15 people. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. All of us dressed up. All of us pretending to be the functional family we showed the world. My sister Heather was holding court at her end of the table. 29 years old, newly engaged, living what everyone agreed was a charmed life. Designer clothes, new car. That Instagram-perfect relationship with her fiancé Blake. The whole package. I was at the other end. 32, single, quiet. The boring older sister who worked in finance and didn't post photos of her brunch. Blake and I are planning the honeymoon. Heather was saying, "That sounds expensive," Aunt Carol said. "It is. But you only get married once, right? You have to do it right." Heather glanced at me. Some people just don't understand the importance of experiences. They'd rather save every penny and never actually live. I took a bite of pie and said nothing. "Heather, that's a bit harsh," Mom said. "I'm not being harsh. I'm being honest. Life's too short to be cheap." She looked directly at me. "Right, Claire?" "If you say so," I said. "See. That's exactly what I mean. No passion. No joy. Just existing. Saving money for what? For some imaginary future where you finally decide to live. Meanwhile, life is passing you by." Blake put his hand on hers. "Babe. Maybe. No, I'm just saying. Families should support each other. Should want to celebrate together. But some people are too cheap to even contribute to celebrations." The table went quiet. "What do you mean?" Grandma asked. "I mean, we invited Claire to be in the wedding. Gave her first pick of bridesmaid dresses. But she said it was too expensive. Like, it's $400 for your sister's wedding, and she can't afford it." "I didn't say I couldn't afford it," I said quietly. "I said I didn't want to spend $400 on a dress I'll wear once." Exactly. Too cheap to help family celebrate. Too cheap to be part of the biggest day of my life. Heather Mom tried to interrupt. "And it's not just that. It's everything. I asked her to split Mom's birthday present. Too expensive. Ask her to chip in for Dad's anniversary party. She says she'll see what she can do." Which means no. She makes good money. 6 figures. But does she share it? Does she help family? No. She's too busy hoarding it. 15 pairs of eyes were on me now. "That's not fair," I said. "Isn't it? Name one time you've helped me. One time you've been generous. One time you've put family first instead of your precious savings account." I could name several times. I could name 57 months of times. But I didn't. "You're right," I said instead. "I should be more generous." Heather smiled. Victorious. "Thank you. That's all I'm asking. For you to show up, te contribute to be family." I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" Mom asked. "Just checking something," I said. I opened my banking app. Pulled up my automatic payments. There were 5 scheduled for Heather. Car insurance, $267 per month. Car payment, $489 per month. Credit card minimum, $175 per month. Jewelry store payment plan, $297 per month. The engagement ring. Storage unit, $89 per month. Total, $1,317 per month. I'd been paying them for 57 months. Since August 2019. $1,317, 57 equals $75,069. But let me be precise. The car insurance had gone up twice. The car payment had been $520 for the first 18 months before she refinanced. The credit card minimum had varied, and there had been one-time payments too. Actual documented total from my spreadsheet, $78,344. But let's focus on the recurring bills, the ones I could prove easily. Car insurance over 57 months, $14,583. The rest, let's call it $29,461 in other payments. Total easily provable, $44,044, just in correlated expenses. I clicked on the first payment. Car insurance. Claire? Mom's voice had a warning tone. I clicked cancel. Then the next one. Car payment. Cancel. Credit card. Ring payment. Storage. Cancel. 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 5 clicks. Done in 30 seconds. I put my phone down and picked up my fork. This pie is really good. Mom. New recipe. What did you just do? Mom asked. Adjusted my budget. Like Heather said, I should be more generous. So I'm freeing up some funds to be more giving. Giving to what? Heather asked. Haven't decided yet. Maybe charity. Maybe travel. Maybe I'll finally book that trip to Japan I've been putting off. Good for you, Aunt Carol said. You work hard. You should enjoy your money. Heather was staring at me. Something in her expression had shifted. Uncertain now, but she recovered. Laughed. See, that's the spirit. Maybe there's hope for you yet, Claire. I smiled and kept eating my pie. The first notification came on Tuesday. I was at work when my phone buzzed. Text from Heather. Did you do something to my car insurance? I didn't respond. Another text, 5 minutes later. It's saying payment declined. But I didn't change anything. Do you think someone hacked my account? Then, Claire, are you there? I need advice. Something weird is happening with my bills. I put my phone on silent and went back to my spreadsheet. Wednesday, she called. 3 times. I let them go to voicemail. The voicemail. Claire, I don't know what's going on, but all my automatic payments are failing. The car insurance, the car loan, everything. Can you call me? I'm kind of freaking out. Thursday, Mom called. I answered. Claire, have you talked to Heather? No. She's having some kind of financial crisis. All her bills are coming back declined. She's panicking. That's unfortunate. Can you help her? You're good with money. Maybe you can look at her accounts and figure out what's wrong. I'm sure she'll figure it out. Claire, Mom, I have a meeting. Primera, ave? Tu go. Friday morning, my phone buzzed with a group text. Family chat. Heather had sent a message. Emergency. Need to talk to everyone. Sunday dinner at Mom's. Please come. It's important. I didn't respond to the text, but I showed up on Sunday. The family was already gathered when I arrived. Everyone looked worried. Heather's eyes were red. Blake looked uncomfortable. Claire, thank God, Mom said. Sit down. I sat at my usual spot. Accepted a glass of water. Heather has something to tell everyone, Mom said. Heather took a shaky breath. Something's happened. With my finances, I don't know how, but someone I think maybe identity theft or hacking someone has been paying my bills 4 years. And now they've stopped, and I can't afford them. The table went silent. What do you mean someone's been paying your bills? Uncle Jim asked. I don't know how else to explain it. My car insurance, my car payment, my credit cards, they've all been getting paid. Automatically. But not from my account. From some external account. And I didn't know. I thought I was paying them. But I wasn't. How is that possible? Aunt Carol asked. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. But now, whoever was paying them has stopped. And I got all these notices at once. Past due, declined payment, default. And her voice broke. I can't afford it. I don't have the money. I thought I did. I thought I was managing fine, but I wasn't. Someone else was covering it. For how long? Grandma asked. Since 2019. Almost 5 years. That's insane, Blake said. How did you not notice? I don't know. I thought my automatic payments were working. I never checked. I just lived my life and assumed everything was fine. How much? Uncle Jim asked. I don't know exactly. Thousands. Tens of thousands probably. Everyone was silent. Processing. Trying to understand. Then Aunt Carol looked at me. Claire, you're good with finances? Have you ever heard of something like this? Sure, I said. It's called having someone who loves you pay your bills without telling you. Usually a parent. Sometimes a spouse, sometimes a sibling. Heather's face went white. You, she whispered. Me. You've been paying my bills. Yes, for 5 years, 57 months. Why? Because in August 2019, you called me crying. Said you'd made some bad financial decisions, that you were underwater on your car, that your insurance had lapsed, and you'd been driving uninsured, that you were one mistake away from losing everything. You asked if I could help. Just for a few months, until you got back on track. The table was completely still. I said yes, I continued. I set up automatic payments, directly to your creditors. I didn't give you the money, I paid the bills directly, so you couldn't spend it on something else. But that was 5 years ago, I know. You never told me you were back on track. You never said you didn't need help anymore. So I kept paying, and paying, and paying. How much? Mom asked quietly. I pulled out my phone. Heather was crying now. Why didn't you tell me? You asked me not to. You said you were embarrassed, that you didn't want anyone to know you needed help, that you'd pay me back as soon as you could. So I kept quiet, and waited for you to say you were ready to take over. You never did. But 5 years, 57 months. And in those 57 months, you bought designer clothes, went on vacations, got engaged with a $15,000 ring, planned a wedding in Bora Bora. All while I paid your car insurance, your car payment, your credit cards, and your engagement ring payment plan. My ring. She looked at her hand. At the diamond you're paying for my ring, was paying for it. I canceled that payment too. You'll want to contact the jewelry store. They'll probably come for it within the week. Blake was staring at Heather. You said you saved up for that ring, that you contributed half. I thought I did. You thought? His voice was rising. Heather, how do you not know if you paid for your own engagement ring? I don't know. I thought my money was going where it was supposed to go, while your sister was actually paying for everything. He stood up. I need some air. He left. The door slammed. Mom looked at me. Claire, why didn't you say something? Why did you let it go on so long? Because every time I tried to bring it up, Heather would get defensive. Or she'd have an emergency. Or she'd say she just needed a few more months. So I stopped asking. I just kept paying. And Sunday, at Easter, she called me cheap in front of 15 people. Said I never help family. Never contribute. Never swap. I was paying $1,317 of her monthly bills. So I stopped. Because she was rude to you, Aunt Carol asked. Because she was dishonest. She performed a life she couldn't afford. Used my money to fund it. And then had the audacity to call me cheap. I'm done enabling that. Heather was sobbing now. What am I supposed to do? I can't afford die, can't pay for, you'll figure it out, I said. Sell the car. Get something used. Return the ring. Wait. You can't. It's being repossessed. Cut expenses, get a roommate. Do what everyone else does when they can't afford their lifestyle. You're abandoning me. No. I'm stopping enabling you. There's a difference. Claire, she's your sister, Mom said. And she's 30 years old. She's had 5 years to get her finances together. 5 years to be honest. 5 years to say thank you. Instead, she called me cheap, so now she gets to experience what it's like to actually pay her own bills. I stood up. I have to go. Thank you for dinner, Mom. I left while Heather was still crying. The jewelry store repossessed the ring on Thursday. I heard about it through Mom. Heather had tried to make a payment. They told her she was 4 months behind the payments I hadn't made in April, May, June, and July. She'd tried to negotiate. They said no. She'd try to keep the ring anyway. They sent someone to her apartment to collect it. Blake broke off the engagement on Friday. Mom called to tell me. He said he can't marry someone who's been living a lie, who doesn't even know her own financial situation, who let her sister pay for her engagement ring. That's his choice. Claire, you could have, what? Kept paying, kept enabling. Mom, Heather, is 30 years old. She's been lying to everyone, including herself, for 5 years. This needed to happen. She's devastated. I'm sure she is. Don't you care? Of course I care, but caring doesn't mean rescuing. She needs to face reality, not have me shield her from it. Mom hung up without saying goodbye. August came. Then, September. Through the family grapevine, I heard Heather had moved back in with Mom and Dad. That she'd sold her car and bought something used. That she was working 2 jobs now. That she'd cut up her credit cards. That she was going to financial counseling. I didn't reach out. Didn't offer to help. Didn't ask how she was doing. In October, she texted me, "Can we talk?"
I didn't respond.
Another text a week later, "I'm sorry for everything. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I needed to say it. I'm sorry." I stared at the text for a long time, then I deleted it. In November, she sent a letter, actual mail. Handwritten. "Dear Claire, I've been in therapy for 3 months, working through a lot of things. My therapist asked me to write you a letter, not to make you forgive me, but to help me process what I did. So here it is. I used you. For 5 years, I used you. I told myself I was just accepting help, that I'd pay you back someday, that it wasn't a big deal. But the truth is, I knew, deep down, I knew you were paying my bills. I knew I couldn't afford my life, and I chose not to think about it. I chose to keep spending, keep performing, keep pretending. And when you finally stopped, I blamed you, called you cruel, said you abandoned me. But you didn't abandon me. You just stopped carrying me. And I'm starting to understand that those are different things. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know. I see it now. I see what I did. And I'm sorry. Heather, I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer. I wasn't ready to respond. Maybe I never would be, but I kept the letter. Christmas came. I didn't go to Mom and Dad's. First time in 32 years. I went to a friend's instead, had a quiet dinner, watched movies, slept well. Mom called on the 26th. "You missed Christmas." "I know. Heather asked about you." "Okay, she's different now." "Claire?" "Really different. She's working hard, paying her own bills. She's been paying me and your father rent. Actual rent, without being asked." "Good. She wants to see you, to apologize in person." "I'm not ready." "When will you be ready?" "I don't know, maybe never." "She's your sister, and I'm her sister, but that doesn't mean I have to subject myself to someone who used me for 5 years and then called me cheap in front of the family. People make mistakes. People make choices. Mom. For 5 years, Heather made choices. She chose to spend money she didn't have. She chose to let me pay for her life. She chose to lie to Blake, to you, to everyone, and then she chose to publicly humiliate me. Those weren't mistakes. Those were choices. But she's trying to change, then she should keep trying. But not with me as her audience. I'm done being her safety net. Done being her solution. Done being her target for blame. She can change all she wants, but she can change without me. A year passed. Then another. Through Mom, through cousins, through the occasional social media glimpse, I watched Heather rebuild her life. She finished cosmetology school, opened her own salon. Small, modest, but hers. She dated someone new. Someone who apparently knew her real financial situation. Someone who drove an old Honda and didn't care about Instagram appearances. She paid off her debts. Slowly. $100 here. $500 there. After 2 years, she sent another letter. Claire, I know you didn't respond to my last letter. I understand. But I wanted you to know. I'm paying you back. $200 a month. She'd done the math, it'll take 33 years at this rate. I'll probably be 63 before I finish, but I'm going to do it. Not because I think it'll fix what I broke, but because I owe you. Not just money, but acknowledgement. Heather attached was a check for $200. I stared at it for a long time. Then, I deposited it and set up a savings account. Labeled it Heather Repayment. Not because I needed the money, but because she needed to pay it. 3 years after Easter dinner, Mom asked me to come to Sunday lunch. Just us, she said. You, me, your dad, and Heather. I don't think, please. Heather has something she wants to say. In person. She's been asking for 2 years. Please. Fine. But I'm leaving if it gets manipulative. It won't. I promise. I drove to Mom and Dad's on a Sunday in May. 3 years and 1 month since I'd canceled the payments. Heather was already there. She looked different. Older. More tired, but also ... solid. Like she was actually standing on her own foundation instead of on quicksand. We sat at the kitchen table. The same table where we'd had 1,000 family dinners. Thank you for coming, Heather said. Her voice was quiet. Nervous. Mom asked me to. I know, and you didn't have to. So thank you. We sat in awkward silence. I've been paying you back, Heather said finally, for 3 years now. $200 a month. Sometimes more when I can. I've paid you $8,200 so far. I know I've been depositing the checks. I know you have. And I wanted to say she took a breath. Thank you for accepting them. Some people wouldn't. Some people would have sent them back, or turned them up or told me to keep them. But you accepted them, and that means a lot. Okay. I also wanted to apologize in person. Not in a letter. Not through Mom. To your face. She looked at me directly. I'm sorry. For using you. For taking advantage. For lying to myself and everyone else. For calling you cheap when you'd given me $78,000. For being a terrible sister. I'm sorry. Okay. Is that all you're going to say? Okay. What do you want me to say? Something. Anything. You're just so calm. Like it doesn't matter. It mattered. 3 years ago, it mattered a lot. Now, I'm just tired. Tired of being angry. Tired of holding grudges. Tired of family drama. Does that mean you forgive me? I thought about it. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not angry anymore. But I don't know if we can go back to being sisters like we were. Were we ever really sisters? Heather asked. Or was I just someone who took from you, and you were someone who let me? I don't know. My therapist says we had an unhealthy dynamic. That I was the taker and you were the giver. That it wasn't a real relationship. It was just a pattern. Your therapist sounds smart. She is. She's helped me see a lot of things, including that I can't just apologize and expect everything to be fine, that I actually have to change. To be different. To be someone worth having a relationship with. Are you? I asked. Different. I'm trying to be. I don't know if I'm succeeding, but I'm trying. I don't know. We talked for another hour. About her salon, about her new relationship, about therapy, about financial counseling, about what she'd learned. It wasn't comfortable, but it was honest. At the end, Heather said, I don't expect us to be close again, but maybe someday we could be. Cordial. Like, show up to the same holidays without it being weird. Maybe, I said. We see. That's better than no, Heather said. I'll take it. 5 years after Easter dinner, Heather made her final payment. Not the full $78,344, but her portion, the portion we'd agreed on after that first conversation at Mom and Dad's. $20,000. Half of the car-related expenses, the amount she felt she could actually repay. She'd paid it over 5 years. Some months $200, some months $500. Once, she'd paid $2,000 from a good month at the salon. The check came with a note. Final payment. Thank you for letting me pay you back. Thank you for accepting my apology through action instead of just words. And thank you for being the sister I didn't deserve but needed. I hope someday we can be family again. I deposited the check, closed the repayment account, and donated the full $20,000 to a financial literacy nonprofit in Heather's name. Then I called her. Hey, she said. She sounded surprised. Hey, I got your check and your note. Yeah, it's done. Finally. I'm sure you're relieved. I donated it, the full $20,000, to a financial literacy nonprofit. In your name, Silence. Why? She asked finally. Because I don't need the money, but someone else does. And because I wanted you to know that this was never about the money. It was about respect, about honesty, about treating me like I mattered. You do matter, she said. Her voice was thick. You matter so much, and I'm sorry it took me so long to see that. I know you are. Can we do? You think we could try to be sisters again? Not like before, but something new, something honest. Honest. Maybe, I said. Want to get coffee this week? Really, really. No promises, but we can try. I'd like that, she said. 7 years after Easter dinner, I got married. Heather came to the wedding. Sat in the 3rd row, cried during the ceremony. At the reception, she approached me during a quiet moment. You look beautiful, she said. Thanks. I'm really happy for you. You deserve this. Thank you. Can I say something? And you can tell me to shut up if it's too much. Go ahead. You saved my life. When you stopped paying my bills. When you walked away, you saved me. Because I was drowning and I didn't even know it. I was living this fake life and I thought it was real. And you forced me to face reality. And it sucked. It was the worst year of my life. But it was also the year I grew up. The year I became someone real instead of someone performing. So thank you for caring enough to let me fall. I would unbe the person I am now. If you had undone that. I felt tears on my face. You're welcome. I know we're not super close, and maybe we never will be. But I want you to know, I'm grateful. Every day, for what you did, and for who you are. I'm grateful too, I said, for who you've become. We hugged. A real hug. Not a performance, not a transaction. Just 2 sisters, figuring it out. Finally, 10 years after Easter dinner, Heather opened her 2nd salon. I went to the grand opening. Brought my husband, watched her cut the ribbon in front of a crowd of supporters. She'd built it herself. Every dollar. Every decision. No loans, no help. Just her work and her vision. After the crowd dispersed, we stood together looking at the space. Remember Easter dinner? She asked. 10 years ago, how could I forget? I called you cheap in front of the entire family. I remember. I was such an asshole. Yes, you were. Thank you for walking away. For not rescuing me. For letting me figure out who I actually was instead of who I was pretending to be. You're welcome. You know what I realized, she said. You gave me the best gift anyone's ever given me. Not the $78,000. But the no, the boundary. The refusal to keep carrying me. That's the gift, because it forced me to carry myself. That's a good way to put it. I wish I'd understood that 10 years ago would have saved us both a lot of pain. Maybe, or maybe you needed the pain to understand the lesson. Probably true. She smiled. Want to grab dinner? My treat. Literally. I can actually afford to treat now. I'd like that. The lesson came slowly, over years, not in a single moment. Not in one conversation. But gradually, like trust rebuilding. Like families healing. The lesson was this. You can't help someone by preventing them from facing reality. You can't love someone by funding their delusions. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is say no. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough to let them become who they actually are. Instead of enabling who they're pretending to be, Hella pretended for 5 years. Performed success, showed the world a life she couldn't afford. And I enabled it. Quietly, secretly, thinking I was helping. But I wasn't helping. I was just postponing reality. When I finally stopped, reality came fast, hard, brutal, and it broke her, temporarily. But from that breaking came something real, something solid, something honest. Not the performed life, but an actual life. Built on her own work. Her own foundation. Her own truth. That was worth $78,344. That was worth the pain. That was worth the years of distance. Because in the end, we both became better. I became someone who knew her worth and defended her boundaries. She became someone who earned her life instead of performing it. And that honesty, that reality, that's what made us sisters again. Not by blood. Not by obligation. Not by guilt. But by choice. By respect. By truth. That was priceless.